This is ordinance number 1007-2023, as amended by council members House and Starr. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into a grant agreement with Brenda Glass Multipurpose Trauma Center to provide economic development assistance to partially finance repairs and upgrades to certain existing facilities of the center. If Ms. Glass would join us at the table. And Inez, could you please make sure that, Ms. Jimenez, could you make sure that my name is added to all of these ARPA pieces? So there are probably about 4 pieces that I should be added to, okay? All right, thank you. Ms. Glass, I know that this is a council approved piece, but if you could, tell us a little bit about your program and yourself, and then I'll turn it over to one of the sponsors of this legislation.
So, hello everybody. Thank you for inviting me to the table. My name is Brenda Glass. I am the founder and the director of the Brenda Glass Multipurpose Trauma Recovery Center. We work with victims of violent crime in the Cleveland area.
Could you talk into your microphone
Sorry
so that
about
everybody
that.
can hear? You can move it up closer.
Okay,
We are
thank
one
you.
big family.
Sorry about that. Okay, I'm Brenda Glass from the Brenda Glass Multipurpose Trauma Center. We work with victims of violent crimes in the process of them healing from that experience of violence. We offer safe shelter. We offer psychotherapy. We offer case management and peer advocacy. We also help the victims with relocation assistance. We try to help them to get employment. And we also help them with any spiritual problems that they may be trying to grapple with as well as in the recovery process. We started our program from 2003 after seeing that so many young people in our community was experiencing violence and had limited resources that they trusted. So we started working from a faith-based initiative concept to do this. It became a product of a bigger product where we would start working with the Attorney General's office when I was working for Circle Health Services. So we launched one of the first trauma recovery centers along with May Dugan Center in the city of Cleveland back in 2017. Since that time, it became necessary for my own nonprofit to branch out on its own and to build up the services to that community. In 2020, when everyone was closing their doors, ours sprang open so that we could actually support those victims. During that time, we had landlords that bought into the idea with us, and I myself took money from my 401k and my savings to help to keep the program going. So we've, since that time, Step Forward has helped us. A number of other entities provided sub-grantee awards for us to help us to keep our program going. Our goal is to expand the program. We want to add more houses to our, to our inventory, and we want to add more staff to our team.
Thank you so much. Just a couple of things, if I could make sure that I go through this. The original address, I think you gave a home address, but where's the actual physical location? And I know that it's anonymous.
Yes.
But can you give us at least the vicinity?
I can give you the address to
Okay.
our practice location, 9333 Miles Avenue.
Okay.
So it's a church that rents the space to us.
Is it Allen Chapel?
It rents the space to us, and it was more advantageous for us to use that because when we could not afford to pay, we still were able to use the facility.
Okay. And I know you probably know your councilman.
Yes.
Councilman Bishop. Okay. I do want to read the amendment. If I could, there is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. 1, in Section 2, Line 2, strike the period after 10 SF 400 and insert "and other funds approved by the Director of Finance, RQS 9501, RL 2023-97. That's basically just cleaning up language to talk about where we're pulling the money from.
Okay.
I do want to, first of all, give the 2 sponsors for this piece of legislation an opportunity to speak on its behalf, and then the councilman for the ward who this facility is located in, okay? I'll start off with Councilwoman House Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Mrs. Glass, this is something me and Councilman Starr. It was definitely over a year ago where we got the opportunity to just take a brief, I would say, visit there to Allen Chapel and to see the work that is done. But it's also when we talk about these investments, understanding there is a series of safe houses that are throughout throughout the city of Cleveland and making investments, just so that people are in their recovery, can have places, from some of these infrastructure needs, understanding the increase in violence, whether it's domestic violence, whether it is actual, criminal elements of houses being shot up and things of that nature. The work of the center to be able to house people in safe, healing places and to have this investment of dollars to support that work will really go a long way. We know even though their original request was for $2.4 million, we know we couldn't do that, but being able to make some investment in this work at this time is really, really appreciated. So that's kind of, I'll have to say to that. I know that there have been conversations regarding ARPA of ensuring that we have regular updates. So I definitely will offer to the committee to make sure whether it's a biannual, kind of biannual updates, and talking with our Chairman Hairston from DPS. I think that would be there. So hopefully someone in the committee could add that type of language to this amendment, just to ensure we can be updated to just the progress that is happening here at the Brenda Glass Trauma Center, and that community members could see where our dollars are going, and and being accountable to the people. So hopefully one of the committee members will be able to make that amendment. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilmember House. Is there anyone interested in putting in an amendment around reporting as proposed by the councilwoman? Councilman Hairston.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make an amendment to add that the Brenda Glass Multipurpose Trauma Center present back to Cleveland City Council on a biannual basis, semi-annual basis, progress and reporting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember Bishop. To our Assistant Law Director, do you have that language? Great. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the proposed amendment. Yes.
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 Present. I mean, yes. Sorry. Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries. Mr. President, added an amendment around reporting as suggested by Councilwoman House. So you are now on a Councilmember Starr. You've got the floor.
Thank you. Council Member Starr.
Thank you, members of the Finance Committee. Similar to from Councilwoman House Jones have mentioned, we went over about a year and a half ago. We got an actual tour over Brenda Glass facility, and something that stuck out to me over at the Trauma Center was the fact that we often forget how organizations sometimes in the community have to fund the work that they do themselves. Meaning, she was pulling funds from her own retirement pension just to keep her center open. But then once she got in there and doing the tour, it resonated with me because she has a place in a facility for those who have been victims of domestic violence. And they also is trying to get out of that situation. But when they get out of that situation, they don't have the family, they don't have the support. That person that is doing that violence to that individual, most of the time know where their friends are at and don't have nowhere to go. But she has provided a safe place and also additional resources, working with organizations to make sure the family have clothing, making sure they can eat, making sure they have a shelter. Those type of programs are programs that I urge us as members of Cleveland City Council to fund, but also just try to do our due diligence to help. Like I mentioned, imagine you having an organization that you're providing service in a community and you're providing your pension, the money you saved up, because you see all the different people that you are working with, not just in certain wards on the east side, west side, but throughout the city and also some other residents in the county as well. So I am strong and happy to be able to be an author with this, along as well with my colleague, Ms. House Jones, who and I talked off the line and just was really, really happy to see the work that you were doing, but we understand the importance and the role that you play because you're in the community. Yes. You're right on 93rd, right off of Miles. Yes. So therefore, anyone driving by, anyone passing by can see where her facility is, but also understand the work that you do are very important. So I'm honored to be able to sponsor this and glad we are able to get it here to this day to be able to give some support and resources that you are desperately in need. And I believe you're going to continue to do a great job. And I look forward to supporting you, not just now, but in the future. Anything we can do, you know, matter of fact, anything we do once we get this through council, hopefully, with the support of my colleagues, I'm figuring out how we can work with the county as well and take a step further to make sure they helping on the human element. And I'm definitely going to lean over to my pawpaw on the Health and Human Service and Arts Chair to see how we can tap into the county as well and find out how we support. So I definitely thank you all. And I yield, Chair.
Thank you so much, Councilman Starr. The one thing that I do want to make sure that I underscore, because we know that everybody in town watches these shows,
Yes.
watches Channel 20, and everybody, social service agency says, what about mine? I'm doing great work too. The council people chose this because it really fits in line with what we call a triple bottom line, which is the physical built environment, the economic development on a major corridor, and it shores up a building. And then it also deals with the social, emotional aspect. So to me, it's not just an investment in social services, it's an investment in a comprehensive approach to offer shelter, but also offer support to a group of people, because believe me, there's been no shortage of social service agencies that have been flooding us with this money. And we've been very, very cautious to try to spend a majority of it on infrastructure and stabilizing our corridors and stabilizing our economic development and opportunities. But this council thought that your work was very noble. And along with May Dugan, who you know are here as well.
Yes, we work together.
You know, are two groups that we know can give us some of that trauma-informed care that we need on the west side and east side. So hopefully you can continue to work in coordination with each
Yes,
other
sir.
on that. Councilman Kevin Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, first, I'd like to be added to this piece of legislation, if I may, Mr. President.
Ms. Jimenez, could you please add Councilman Bishop?
Just a couple of questions. Now, how would we go to connect folks that needs to be referred to your center? How would we go about connecting resources, connecting to those resources?
So we currently work with, thank you, Councilman Bishop. We currently work with all of the hospitals. We work with the prosecutor's office when they identify individuals that want to testify or want to prosecute. They often ask us to shelter those people to keep them safe, and because we provide transportation to and from court hearings as well. We sit with the client during that time. But we have a phone number that's listed on our website. We have our brochures that are out and everywhere in the city so that people know to call us. We work with May Dugan Center. We work with Journey Center for Safety and Healing. So we act as a transition and a collaborative effort with all the people in the city that will come in contact with victims. But there is one number that they call. That number goes directly to me. I would like to be the person that answers the phone because I believe that people need a friendly voice when they call.
Okay. And through the chair, you say you've been in operation since 2003? Is that
So I
what
started
heard?
in faith-based, yes. And it
Okay.
was a smaller, operation where people would identify young people that were at risk, and we would look for all the resources in the city of Cleveland that would work with that person. Churches would take up collections, and we would help to somehow pay the first month's rent and security deposits and help people with donations for furniture and things when those young people would move in. We saw the need was greater than we can, perform. So when the Attorney General's office came to the agency I was working for, looking for a program that was reflective of something that was happening in San Francisco at the time, which was Dr. Basalari was heading up the first trauma recovery center in the country. I had been watching her work since 2007, and they liked the idea, so they initially funded it.
Okay. All right. And through the chair to Ms. Glass, can you forward me your information so I have that on file?
I have some brochures if you want one.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. In any kind of way that we can get whatever graphics you have, because, many of us have newsletters, we have other mechanisms. I know I have about 2,000 people in my email database. So these are things we want to let our public know. And I'm adjacent to Councilman Bishop, so I see my residents being able to have an opportunity to benefit from this as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Councilman Kevin Conwell.
Yeah, that'll take me about 1 second. Only take me a second. I heard Well, in the neighborhood, I've been hearing some great things about Ms. Glass and the center there. So, as Councilman Starr mentioned, I would like to get an invitation. We'll visit, and I'll bring him the wife with me as well. Councilman, you just stop by the house and grab us, and we'll come over. Yeah, because I want to see the center. I just been hearing great things. All right, so I'm there. Thank you very much. Count me in.
Thank you so much. And seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1007-2023 as amended stands approved. Please sign on. Ms. Glass, as well as everybody else, I want to make a visit and come by. And once again, if you can work with us as I know you probably talk with Councilman Starr and Councilwoman House so that all of us can have the information and be able to give it to our residents, because this is very important.
Yes.
Just to give everybody kind of this whole background, and I know I'm kind of the historian on a lot of ways. When we had the Imperial Avenue homicides, one of the biggest issues was that a lot of women did not have drop-in centers, especially on the southeast side. With the addition of this on the southeast side, with the addition of Rape Crisis in Shaker Square, the work that May Dugan and others are doing, and then the investments we're making in the rec center, I think we are really getting into something to really try to make sure that we are trying to address the trauma that people are dealing with in this community. So I'm happy to hear that and look forward to working with you, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. 1007-23 stands approved. As amended, stands approved. Please sign on. All right, next up, and I think this is another one of those, Ms. Jimenez, that's going to probably be a couple, if you could sign me on as well. This is ordinance number, I tell you what, let me do this first because I want to get the May Dugan Center out the way first. Want to make sure I get that. May Dugan, if they could come to the table so we can stay on the same theme while we move through this process.
Oh, man.
And May Dugan. Now he knows he's not going to come to the table after he lobbied me for the last month. Where's Joe Simperman? He better get up here at the table. The Councilman Joe Simperman.
Mr. President, you think Joe Superman know his way to the table?
Yeah, he knows his way. He knows his way well, and he's been a great advocate for May Dugan and the whole team. Let me read the legislation, ordinance number 1011-2023, as amended by Council Members Spencer, Santana, McCormick, Conwell, Gray, Harsh, Kelly, Maurer, Polisic, and Slight. Wow, you don't mess around, do you, Councilwoman Spencer? I told Councilwoman Spencer she needed to get some extra sponsors, and she went and got all the council. But can you please add me as well, if you could? Okay, thank you. This is an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into a grant agreement with Near West Side Multi-Service Corporation, DBA, the May Dugan Center, to provide economic development assistance to partially finance completion of renovations and expansion of the center. And I believe we have an amendment, so I'll read the amendment. The amendment says there is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. In Section 2, Line 2, strike the period after 10 SF 400 and insert "and other funds approved by the Director of Finance." RQS 9501 RL 2023-96. And it was done on October the 3rd, 23 by Stephanie Melnick, Chief Assistant Director of Law. Mr. Kim and team, why don't you announce who's all with us, and then we'll move into the conversation.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yeah, please speak into the microphone, everyone.
How's this?
That's great.
Okay. So thank you so much for having us. My name's Angela Vanucci. I'm a resident in Ohio City and the former board president of the May Dugan Center. I'm here today with Rick Kem, our executive director, Andy Trares, our deputy director, as well as Veronica Glover, Peter Katsilis, Angela Gober-Woodson, and Pam Bell from our Trauma Recovery Center. And we also have several other passionate May Dugan Center employees with us for support as well.
Stand up so everybody can see you.
So I really want to thank you for this opportunity. We're very, very excited to be here. I also want to express our thanks for all of the council members that have come out to visit the center, that have met with us, and of course our co-sponsors. We are really, really excited about this opportunity. So this afternoon, we've prepared a short presentation where we'll talk about the May Dugan Center programming and the impact, as well as our capital campaign and how we're using the money and what parts of Cleveland this will impact. So if I can just kick it off.
There it is, right there. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so the May Dugan Center offers 6 core programs. All of these are focused on solving poverty in Cleveland. Many of these we consider wraparound programs. They address different parts of poverty and issues that people living in poverty undergo. And oftentimes they need to access multiple pieces at the May Dugan Center in order to get the appropriate support. We're over 50 years old, so we've been a part of the community for a long time, 54, according to Rick now. And in 2022, we served over 20,000 people, so our reach is wide. Our 6 core programs are food distribution. We are the second largest food pantry in Northeast Ohio behind the Cleveland Food Bank. Behavioral health services, and through that program we offer support, mental health counseling support, addiction services support, as well as case management. Our Education and Resource Center, which offers a variety of training for job training, English as a second language, tutoring for people trying to get their GED or learn to read, even in some cases. Our senior program, which provides assistance to seniors in our community living often on their own and living at the poverty or near the poverty level. Our newest program, which is a refugee resettlement program, we've partnered with a U.S. State Department contractor that sends refugees to Cleveland, and we help get them settled and up and going now. This is just a brand new program in the last couple months. And finally, our Trauma Recovery Center, which partners with the Cleveland Police to ensure that victims of crime throughout the city of Cleveland are properly cared for once they undergo an act of violence. So this might provide some counseling services near to the, like in proximity of the crime, so shortly thereafter after the crime, as well as other concierge type services that would happen to a victim. They might need, a place to stay, access to a lawyer, access to filing a police report. And so we work with them to ensure that their trauma is minimized, essentially, and it minimizes the long-term impact of a crime for that victim. And also, just to note, as of July 1st, we've expanded that partnership with the city police, and we now have a staff member from May Dugan with every police district. Next, this slide outlines where our impact is, and it's throughout the community. We serve clients in every single ward. You have a copy of this in your materials, I believe, and hopefully you've received it already, but these are the numbers of who we're serving. So when you support May Dugan Center, you are supporting residents in every single ward of Cleveland. And this is split up by program, and again, a donation for the May Dugan Center capital campaign goes to support the programs which are distributed often through our building. So that's how it's reaching the many different wards. I'm going to turn it off to Rick, sorry. Rick Kem.
Hi, everybody. I want to thank you to all of you city council members who came down to visit us at the May Dugan Center. It was truly an honor for you to take time from your busy schedules to come and visit the center. So thank you for that. I also want to acknowledge all of my staff and Angela, our board member, for taking time to being here today so that you could see how much they love the May Dugan Center. So when we launched the campaign, we started talking about this, believe it or not, in 2017. That's a long time. The COVID-19 delayed us a little bit, but we were resilient, relentless, and we're getting very, very close to achieving our $7.6 million goal. Back in 2018, when we launched the campaign, our goal was $5.5 million. And because of the delay in shipping materials and inflation, our goal had to increase to $7.6 million. But phase one is done, which is the east side of the building, which many of you got to see. We're a little crowded in there right now, but phase two is under construction. It's coming along. The walls are going up, and it's really exciting to see that. But we're going to have a fabulous facility that will continue to serve all residents of the city of Cleveland. And we're hoping that phase two will be completed at the end of this year. Okay, turn over to Andy Traris, our Deputy Director.
Good afternoon, everyone. So just highlighting a couple of what the impact will be of our renovated space is that once complete, our food distribution will be able to increase its capacity by about 40% to serve 930,000 meals to the community. We also, it's helping facilitate the expansion of our trauma recovery center to serve 2,100 victims of crime throughout the city of Cleveland this year. We'll have additional private therapy rooms, which will enable us to serve over 200 more clients through our behavioral health. We'll be adding a new GED testing center, which will be used for other tests as well. We'll be fully ADA compliant, and we are also going for LEED certification. Just quickly on the sources and uses of the project, our overall goal is $7.6 million. We're currently just shy of 6.6, so we're about 87% of the goal, leaving us with currently about $1 million gap. On the right are the various hard costs, furniture, as well as some of the soft costs, including architecture.
So on this last slide, I'm very proud for you to see the tremendous support that we receive throughout the philanthropic community here in the Cleveland. As you all know, Cleveland is a very philanthropic, and we've secured close to $3 million from local foundations. We also have $100,000 pending with the Abington Foundation, even though they've already given us some funding, but it doesn't hurt to ask to give one more time. So you'll see we also have secured funding from the city. Our initial grant was $525,000 from the Community Development Department. We got the first grant for capital improvements from the county for our Health and Human Service agencies, thanks to County Councilwoman Yvonne Conwell. She was tremendous, and she also committed $100,000 out of her own ARPA allocations to the May Dugan Center. And we've secured our first state capital budget allocation in the amount of $350,000 from the state of Ohio and $750,000 from the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, supported by the local ADAMS board, the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board. And of course, we have secured funding from individuals and some local businesses and faith-based organizations. So as Andy said, we're getting closer and closer to reaching this goal, and your support today would really be helpful to us. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Did any of your team members, we got a couple of the frontline workers, did any of the ladies want to say anything?
I do want to say not only do we offer our services in English, but we also have Peter Casillas, who habla español.
Okay, great.
Hi, I'm Pam Bell, and I'm a counselor with the TRC program. And I just want to say to you, just imagine, we all know that violence has increased terribly in the city of Cleveland. And just imagine that you are a victim of a violent crime and you've been injured terribly. You can't go to work. And maybe your housing is in jeopardy and everything else. So victims of crime for the state of Ohio does offer compensation. However, it's quite a long time before those things are put in place and can happen. So that's where TRC kind of steps in, and we offer to prevent someone from losing their housing, help a family that has to be relocated because of violence in the home, and we provide food, all of that. But the biggest thing for me is the counseling piece. Oftentimes, as many of you at this table well know, people that look like us are not apt to get therapy or go to counseling. But I find that when I meet people who have been a victim of a crime, that they are very ready and willing to receive counseling to try to understand, and then it's peeling back layers because there's just years of trauma that has been heaped upon them. The problem is, at our agency, because we're kind of getting everything in order, one side of the building, it's hard to, you have to make an appointment to get a room to do counseling in place. So I've had to counsel some of my clients. I had a gunshot victim that I had to meet him in his driveway. And so the person who shot him is still missing. So if you can just imagine meeting with someone in their driveway outside, and the person who shot this individual has not been apprehended, that's just a really tricky and a scary situation. But we work hard. We're in the trenches. We're out in the communities every day, east side, west side, no matter where that individual resides at, we're there to offer assistance and bridge that gap until other services can be obtained. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. And Ms. Bell, I apologize. I know you from somewhere. I met you somewhere before.
Excuse me?
I said I met you somewhere before in the community. You look familiar. I met you, probably your work or somewhere, but I met you somewhere before. Yeah. Thank you.
I've been a social worker for over 30 years.
Well,
so,
you look familiar.
Yes.
That's why I said confirm. Councilman, or once a councilman, always a councilman, but the head of Global Cleveland, one of the things that appealed to me is that you guys really do a lot to help with refugee and immigrant settlement. And that was something that I think was missing in the whole ARPA landscape. So part of this investment, I think, is very critical. I'd like the public to know why we're justifying this investment is because you guys have a strong presence with the refugee and immigrant community. So I want to give Councilman Semperman an opportunity because I know he works a lot in that space, and welcome him back to the table.
Thank you, Council President, members of the committee. Thank you. Every single person at this table went to Maydugan. Every single council person at this table, every single one of you and in council came, Council President, and I think that oftentimes people underestimate the amount of time it takes to do the job that you do, and for people to take the time and visit. And I remember the conversation with Councilwoman Gray and Councilwoman House and Councilman Hairston and Councilman Conwell, who there's so much history. And to Councilwoman Santana and Spencer, when you had that sheet up there, and to Councilman McCormick, there are many services that are provided for people in the community, but this is citywide, Council President, and really appreciate your leadership. To the refugee piece, the city of Cleveland was going to lose a third of the people coming here through the State Department because one of our national partners was looking to potentially move those sisters and brothers to Columbus and Toledo, and Maydugan stepped up and said, no, we want to welcome our sisters and brothers here. And that was what got me re-engaged with them. I knew them when I used to be on council. But, I think a lot of people, Council President, if they're honest, have stories. I know I've heard from so many people who've come to this place for food, for counseling, people who are seeing their probation officer. And the best part about this place, Councilman, Council President, and members of the council, is the amount of respect they give to each and every single human being that walks in there. They see them as their sister and brother, which is what Cleveland City Council's mission is. And I really appreciate you taking the time to hear this, Mr. Chairman, and we humbly ask for your support.
Thank you so much, and appreciate your advocacy and really helping me understand the roundabout of what they do for Maydugan. I do want to say this. During the pandemic, one of the first calls, and I apologize, her name escapes me right now, but I got a call from this lady from Maydugan, and what's her name?
Sue Marasco.
Sue Marasco. And she said, hey, we want to come and deliver food to your seniors. Now, this was a time when it was a lot of unknowns. People were afraid. People were not answering doors. And people were scared to go to grocery stores and a whole bunch of other things. At Maydugan, I didn't call them. Sue actually sought me out and said, we want to come to the east side and we want to come and work with the police to go and deliver food to hundreds of people. And I never forgot that. And the community that I represent never forgot that. That's when I learned that Maydugan has a larger footprint than just the area. I know the listening public likes to say that my good friend Kerry McCormick has gold coming out of the streets, but he also has a lot of agencies like this that really help people citywide. So I'm glad that all of you guys really worked with us, and more so proud of my colleagues because they kept pressing the issue. They kept coming to me saying, what about Maydugan? Kerry McCormick, Jenny Spencer, Jasmine Santana, other East Side council members said, what about Maydugan? So that's a testament of the work that you guys did. And hopefully some of the areas that you have a little bit of a lighter number, hopefully they can talk to you. I looked at Councilman Harrison's numbers and a couple of others. It'd be great if you can maybe build a relationship with them because I think they could benefit from some of the support you guys do as well, okay? That being said, I have Councilman Kerry McCormick, Councilwoman Jasmine Santana, and anyone else let me know, Councilwoman Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Harsh.
Appreciate that. Just want to reflect that my first week at Ohio City Incorporated, about 35 years ago, if you'll remember, Rick, you were one of my first meetings. So I've known and loved this organization for many, many, many years. And former Director Wobser directed me, said, you got to go meet these folks as one of the first meetings that you take a long time ago when I was a community organizer in Ohio City. But Mr. President, I think there's no shortage of things that we can say about this organization, but at the end of the day, they do God's work. And that's the way I see it. Each and every one of your spectacular team members, the folks in the crowd, volunteers, do God's work. And whether that is GED, pregnancy care, mental health, food distribution, you go down the list. An incredible center that does holistic well-being for our folks in the city of Cleveland from wards 1 to 17. So, I can't think of a more worthy cause to invest in than Maydugan. I'm so excited that we are inching as close as we can to that goal. But like I said on that ribbon cutting a few months back when some of our elders in the community looked at me and said, you need to get them more money. And that's kind of like the daggers that come out. Go. But, it's the facility is going to be great. It's going to be a great place to work in. But at the end of the day, what matters is what that facility is going to produce. And that is going to produce food for folks, mental health services for folks, a loving support from everybody you see at this table. So that facility will be a vehicle for good for decades and decades and decades and decades to come for our folks in the city of Cleveland. So, Mr. President, I'm just so excited to co-sponsor this. We are so proud in Ward 3 to have them here, even though they expand much further than Ward 3. We're proud to call them home. And I'll tell you, sometimes, there's conflict between social service agencies and neighbors, but the whole neighborhood wraps itself around Maydugan. I mean, from the tree lighting to supporting the organization, our neighborhood, I can confidently say, representing them, loves this organization fully. So, and to all the staff, to our board, to who's been on us to get this done, which we appreciate. Also, residents of the city of Cleveland, they're our bosses. So, but no, really, in addition to the building, in addition to the credible people here at the table, the impact that this organization is going to continue to have for decades to come is why this investment is so worthy, Mr. Chairman. So we're very excited. This is one of those times, like my yes vote on this is a very happy vote. It's an excited vote. Some of the stuff we go through is like buying shovels for the airport. No offense to the airport. They're here today. But like this is a vote where like into our organizations here before, these are the kind of votes that you just feel really good about making. And again, to everybody here at this table, makes this organization what it is today. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you. Councilwoman Jasmine Santana, Spencer Harsh Conwell.
Thank you, President, and I echo your remarks, Councilman McCormick. So for me, this is full circle. A little emotional because when I talk about when I share my story about an organization that helped my family while I was growing up, it's Maydugan. And I remember walking from my house to get the food, to get the counseling, to get the education, and it was in Spanish, so very culturally relevant. You guys are very sensitive to non-English speakers, and it was, like Councilman McCormick said, you guys do a holistic care continuum. You identify the gaps and challenges that our families go through, and you add a program, just like you did the newcomers resettlement program. And so I'm very excited about this project, about these ARPA dollars. This is a huge yes for me. I want to thank Councilman Simperman, who is blowing up my phone every day, even though I was already going to support it. But we just...
He still knows how to whip votes.
Yeah, he definitely does. He showed me some things. But I'm very excited. And, going back to the COVID time, there was families coming from all across the city because you guys organized the process so very well. And you guys never make families feel less than. When you walk in Maydugan, you feel great, and you're not embarrassed. And I remember those moments when my family went to go get food and they would be, treated terribly, right? And it was such an embarrassing moment for me and my siblings, but you guys never made us feel that way. And you gave us toys, and I remember the block of cheese that I had to carry. It was very heavy walk. But you guys just know what you guys do. You guys really are passionate about families in need, and you help build them up. You don't just offer social services. You help build families up. And I would never forget what you've done for my family. And then, even before I was elected, I was serving on the board, so I was able to see how you guys operate and how much love, you still have the same employees, because they love this place so much and they love families so much. So this is, like I said, full circle. I am proud to be here, sitting at this table, offering my yes and resources that I could help give back to this wonderful organization. So thank you, Rick. Thank you, Angela. You're still on the board. And Andy, you moved up. And, Peter, you speak Spanish, and I send you all my family. So I just want to thank everyone for all the work that you do, because I know this is sometimes very thankless work that we do. But at the end of the day, when you get home, it's very rewarding and fulfilling. So thank you for changing our families' lives in the city of Cleveland. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Spencer Harsh Conwell.
Thank you, Council President. I didn't know some of those stories about you, so thank you for sharing those. So through our Council President, I want to congratulate you all for being here. This is the culmination of now years and years of advocacy and work, and when you look at the one slide you presented about how many different organizations and entities have contributed to your capital campaign, that is a mind-blowing amount of work and perseverance. And we are part of that journey today. And I know we're all really proud to join you in as you reach near the conclusion of your capital campaign. And we're so proud to join you. But congratulations to all of you for the work you do day in and day out. And now on top of that, your capital campaign. It's a huge deal. And I simply wanted to say that not only do I go by the Maydugan Center most days of the week, right? It's very close to where I live. I'm in the neighborhood with you. I know for a fact that you are a lifeline for so many Ward 15 residents. You are an absolute lifeline. I wish we all collectively as council colleagues could spend more time in each other's wards, because we would learn. We do know a lot about each other's wards, but there's so much left to learn. And a lot of people don't know, for example, that the Cadell neighborhood, which is part of Ward 15, has a higher poverty rate than the city as a whole. And those residents in the Cadell neighborhood and all across my ward absolutely need Maydugan Center and need you to be there and need you to thrive there and do the service and the work you do. So, the one statistic about Ward 15 is the second highest served by Maydugan Center. It's because there is tremendous need. So thank you all so much. And then in conclusion, I wanted to mention my eyes have really been opened through this process with the trauma recovery work. Yes. I was not really aware of the extent of that. And what's amazing is that that is very equally distributed. When you look at all of the different wards and residents and who your team assists with trauma recovery, which you so eloquently spoke to, you really are touching every ward in the city of Cleveland. So I have learned and grown tremendously through this process, and proud to stand with you as a co-sponsor today.
All right, thank you. Councilman Chris Harsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think if you were to close your eyes and try to imagine all the things that a social service agency can do for a community, you would open your eyes and see the May Dugan Center sitting across the table from you. You all do the Lord's work, and thank you very much for being there for the people of Cleveland day in and day out. During the pandemic, I remember everybody shut down, and we had resources at Metro West that we didn't know how to distribute, and you were open to get those resources out into the community where they were needed. And that's the type of commitment that you just can't make overnight. That's the type of commitment that comes from decades of work in the neighborhood, and I thank you for everything you do. And like Councilman McCormick said, this is a very, very enthusiastic vote from me as well, and thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilman Harsh. Councilman Kevin Conwell.
You know, Mr. President, Joe Zipperman reached out to me, and you threw me off, man. We were in band rehearsal, but the wife said, "Is Zip on the phone?" I said, "What's Zip calling me for?" So he was calling us to visit the May Dugan Center, and we got over there to visit you guys, and I think the wife dropped $100,000, and the director showed me where I used to have a fatherhood program at the May Dugan Center. Matter of fact, Jazz Lady, it was a Spanish fatherhood program, and we were working with Spanish fathers and reconnecting them with their children, and had just a great time helping them to get jobs. And the May Dugan Center brought back a lot. You showed us where the job place was at, and even the lead. We were doing lead things later on. With your project, you had a lead project over there, Council President. So they was showing me back a lot of these things, and I said, I'm there. I'm there to support giving back, and I see that a lot of my residents are over there at the May Dugan Center. You guys do a lot of good work and help for the entire city. This is an investment for the entire city to help out. So saying that and having a relationship, and as I would say, Anthony said it for me, an up-close view, a genuine concern and a sensitive ear to give back to the community. Countess Drummer in. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, I don't see anyone else on the agenda. Therefore, ordinance number 1011-2023, as amended, stands approved. Once again, Ms. Jimenez, can you please add me on as a sponsor to this as well? And could you, does anybody have any objection with all of council being added to this?
There you go.
You know what, I can't do everybody, but I can do everybody at this table. So all the people at this table, can you add them to this? And then we'll open it up on the floor if anybody wants to be added. But everybody at this table that you see in addition to the finance committee. Okay? All right, thank you. Good luck, and we'll be back. We'll be out there. Please keep us abreast of your reporting and numbers. It's very important for us to kind of know how taxpayer dollars are being spent.
Mr. Chair.
So if you can make sure we have that.
Do we want to make a quick amendment to add?
Can we make that
piece?
quick amendment just like we did with the Brenda Glass
So,
organization?
Mr. Chair, like
so
to
that we
make
can have
amendment-
regular. Councilman Hairston?
Make amendment to add that the May Dugan Center submits annual reporting to Cleveland City Council on their progress.
All right, I have an amendment on the floor. Do I have a second? Second, Jasmine Santana. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, we had that amendment, so we'll just get a regular report from you just to make sure that we can kind of share how the taxpayer dollars are being spent. So that's just an extra little provision we do for all of the agencies that we've given money to. Okay?
Thank you, everyone.
Attorney Roberts, you have that? Annual.
Council President, we have packets for
We have
everybody.
packets as well? Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
God bless.
and good luck on your mission. All right. Next up is, we're going to go to a couple of the economic development pieces, and I want to make sure, who do we have here from the Northwest Neighborhoods Community Development? if you guys could come to the table. This is, and I know we also have Famicos as well as Old Brooklyn, so we'll get to you next. Can we do Famicos real quick, because it's time sensitive? I apologize. You need this real time sensitive, because they got to have something. Sorry about that. Where's Famicos at? If they could come to the table. I forgot Councilman Harrison shared with me that Famicos has a time-sensitive piece. Come on to the table if you could. All right, this is ordinance number 1015-2023 by council members Hairston and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the mayor and commissioner of purchases and supplies to sell certain city-owned property no longer needed for the city's public use located on Longview Avenue to the Famicos Foundation or its designee for purposes of developing the Henrietta Homes project. I think Mr. Green and Ms.
Carolyn
Dawson.
Dawson, yes.
Okay, so Mr. Green, and then you can introduce us to your guests.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This particular ordinance is about a single parcel for a single home development. However, it's part of the larger Henrietta Homes project. I'm joined by Carolyn Dawson from Famicos Foundation, who can speak a little bit about the project itself, and then I'll come back on the parcel.
Thank you. Ms. Dawson, here you got another one there.
Thank you for the opportunity to sit before the committee today. I'm here to talk about our project, Henrietta Homes. Henrietta Homes is a 40 single-family scattered site project throughout the Huff area in the Leak Park area, actually. It's from east to west, it's 65th Street as a border, all the way up to East 71st Street. And as far north as Dellenbaugh Avenue, and as far south as Melrose Avenue. There are 36 two-story, three-bedroom, two-bath homes, and we have 4 accessory units that are going to be built as well for mobility purposes. We're 30 days, we're less than 30 days from closing. And that is the sense of urgency that we have to include this one single lot into our project so that we can have a mortgage for 40 units as opposed to 39. The consequences will be quite grave in terms of having to redo the mortgages after the construction closing, and so that's why we're here. This will be under a lease purchase program where low-income families will have the opportunity to realize their dream of home ownership after 15 years of becoming a tenant in the units, and at the 16th year, they will have an option to purchase. Area median income is as low as 30% with the assistance of project-based vouchers for 8 of the units, and 60% or below for other units within the project.
Okay. Mr. Green?
So parcel 10609-049 is on the 5th page of your packet. It represents the parcels that are going to be developed on Longview. And then the next page shows the parcels across the street. The reason we're here on this parcel is because it's a parcel that was once in the land bank, but it was sold out and then came back to the city of Cleveland. And often when that happens, those come back as city of Cleveland parcels and not land bank parcels. This one happened to come back as a city of Cleveland parcel under the Department of Economic Development. So community development has been working with economic development to sell the parcel for the same price that we're selling the other 39 parcels for the 40-unit development, and that's for $200, which is considered to be fair market value and is consistent with what we sell parcels for low-income housing tax credit projects. So we're just trying to sell this one parcel to accompany the land bank parcels. And so with that, we ask approval.
All right, thank you. And these are 40 parcels pretty much in the area overlapping Huff and Glenville?
No, this is the League Park area.
League Park area? Okay, so this is in Ward 7 mainly.
That is correct.
Okay, two things. I'll start out with the chair of DPS, which is Anthony Hairston, with any questions he may have, and then the councilwoman of record, Stephanie House Jones, in that area. So, Councilman Hairston, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. No questions from me. I'm very well aware of this project. As the commissioner and Carolyn from FAMICO has indicated, that this is one slither parcel that is needed to be acquired to finish out their very beautiful project that they have coming here in the Great Ward 7 in the Huff neighborhood. And as I did with the last two pieces, I relieved them from committee so that way they can get to finance because they were all time sensitive, just as the other pieces that I relieved that are coming up next, so that way the projects can continue to move at a good pace. As you know, we are going in a different route as we review our budget, which is going to consume much of October's and some of November's DPS committee meetings. So I have no issues or concerns with the transfer of this lot and fully support.
Thank you so much. Councilwoman House Jones?
To the chairman, thank you. No, this is something that is desperately needed to actually have affordable housing. FAMICOS has consistently been in this space of providing affordable housing, and really looking forward to that, to have the addition of 40 additional homes of high quality but affordable for the actual residents that are in our community. And so really looking forward to supporting, and this one parcel would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions does anybody else have any other questions? Who is the developer for this? Is it
FAMICOS Foundation.
Are you outsourcing your development, or are you going to do it internal?
We have consultants that we work with, but we are direct developers. We have a outside general contractor, Development Specialty Services, Inc., and we have our city architecture as our architect. Development Specialty Services, Inc. It's a contractor that has been in business since 2018, but they were formerly known as APB. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Spencer?
Thanks, Council President. It's good to see Ms. Dawson at the table today. I noticed from the elevations that there appear to be some that are single-story construction and or maybe ADA accessible, and through the chair just wanted to inquire about how many of the homes do you anticipate, unless I'm seeing it wrong, I'd love to learn more
you are
about
correct.
Those single-story structures.
You are correct. There are 4 homes that are going to be ADA accessible, and they're ranch units.
And then through our chair to Ms. Dawson, those were designed by city architecture?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Seeing no other questions, once again, thank you. I think this is very important for us to, We're trying to really replenish our housing stock, so I think this is a great project, so looking forward to working with you guys. All right, seeing no other questions, 10:15 stands approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Special thanks to Councilwoman House, and special thanks to Councilman Hairston for your support, and thank you, committee, for your added support.
All right, Carolyn.
Okay. You know what? Councilwoman House Jones is not on this. Can you please make sure that she's added to this? Councilwoman House Jones, want to make sure you're added to this? Yes. Okay, please make sure Councilwoman House Jones is added to that. All right, thank you. Next up is ordinance number 1009-2023, as amended by Councilmember Spencer. Once again, can you please add me to this, Ms. Jimenez? And this is an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Community Development to enter into a grant agreement with Northwest Neighborhoods Community Development Corporation to partially finance the construction of 51 apartment units for seniors on West 80th Street and Detroit Avenue. The amount for this is $1 million, and I believe we have representatives from NNCDC, and we also have members here from the Karam House. So who's going to take the lead?
Yes, thank you.
Please.
Mr. President. I am Bridget Kent Marquez. I'm the Executive Director at Northwest Neighborhoods. Thank you so much for hearing this today. I am here joined by a project team, many from Northwest Neighborhoods, some from Cleveland Public Library as well. We have a short presentation on the project where I will provide more details. That is not the project, though. Yep, there we go. Okay. Thank you. This is the Karam Senior Living Project and what we are here today to learn more about. Special thanks to the committee, the members of this committee, the Finance, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, the ordinance co-sponsors, Councilman Griffin, Councilman McCormick, Councilman Hairston, Councilmember Spencer, the City of Cleveland Department of Community Development as well, and the City of Cleveland in general, and City Council at large. Thank you. This is Karam Senior Living, and in all honesty, I very much wish that I could invite all members at the table to a tour of this lovely building, which I cannot do yet because it has yet to be built. It is 51 units of new affordable senior living combined with a Walls branch of the Cleveland Public Library. It would have been on track to be constructed around now were it not for the global pandemic. Really, this fits into a larger context of providing critical affordable housing for vulnerable seniors that are facing displacement pressures in the Northwest Neighborhood Service area. This project is on West 80th and Detroit Avenue in Ward 15, Councilmember Spencer's ward, and is really a catalytic project to serve as a holistic hub for community services. This is aligned with the mission of Northwest Neighborhoods to ensure that Detroit Shoreway remains one of Cleveland's most racially and socioeconomically diverse neighborhoods. I wanted to put the project in greater context. Some people may be familiar with the work of Northwest Neighborhoods. It's the newly formed organization that was Detroit Shoreway Community Development Organization and Cadell Improvement, Inc., which both merged into each other in 2021. And this organization has a legacy of owning and managing affordable housing. We own over 350 units of affordable housing all throughout, and it is this that is really the cornerstone of what we do. So Karam Senior Living is not a one-off project, but rather a continuation of a legacy of ensuring affordability in our neighborhoods. Okay, all right.
False alarm.
False alarm. Here's a few project highlights for Karam Senior Living in the Walls branch. It is 51 units. It is for seniors age 55 and over. Many of these units, all of the units are restricted to 60% AMI or lower, with 8 units restricted to those living in the deepest of poverty, approximately $16,000 less a year. Or less. And it, of course, is on top and integrated with the Walls Library branch, which addresses, this service-enriched hub addresses how seniors living attached to a library provides multi-generational opportunities for interaction, as well as addressing the digital divide with access to state-of-the-art facilities and materials on the first floor of where they live. As I'm sure many council members would agree, there's a huge need for affordable housing all throughout the city of Cleveland. Our organization, fields calls just about daily of those experiencing poverty for high quality affordable housing, and this seeks to address that. Of course, the building is also a green, energy efficient building and located on a 24-hour bus line. I'll turn it over to Mr. Lang.
Afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Council President, members of the committee, my name is John Lang. I'm Chief Operating Officer of the Cleveland Public Library. As you've seen from the architect's renderings, this is a joint development project, and we've been very pleased to be working with Northwest Neighborhood now for a couple of years on it, and very glad to lend our support. As many of you know, the library is in the midst of a 10-year, $110 million capital construction program. We're reimagining all 27 of our neighborhood branches, and the Waltz Karam project is really a flagship project for the entire endeavor. I can't improve on Bridget's comments regarding the advantages we see in joint construction to the larger community as well as the future residents of the Karam project. The library portion of the project is funded through a bond issuance, so I'll just stipulate that, but really hope to be able to move forward with the combined project.
All right. Anybody else? Or We're good?
Oh, there's just a few more. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Brief project history, just leading us to today, that it was really 7 years ago that this joint collaboration began, and the project was awarded the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Award in 2020, but because delays and cost increases, as I know we've heard already today, there were sharp increases in construction costs, which led to a pretty substantial gap for the project. So we did press forward, and we were able to complete the demolitions of the respective buildings that were on this site, and we did respond to the RFP from the City of Cleveland Community Development. While we were thrilled to have that $2 million award of the housing gap financing, there is still a gap which leads us to this table and this hearing. This is a $21.3 million project budget. These are the sources for the project. I'm happy to answer any questions. You can see that transformational piece of the $1 million of important funding that we are here to address. Currently, we are also working with the Ohio Housing Finance Agency and other partners to secure the rest of the remaining gap to be able to move forward to these projects' next steps, which we're very much looking forward to our project close, groundbreaking, construction completion, and letting those seniors who are reaching out for this affordable, safe housing that we now would have a place for them to be. And it's with that, I conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did any of your other guests want to add anything to it? Introduce yourselves. Could you give them a microphone? Hit the green. There you go. All right, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Robert Grant III. I'm with Northwest Neighborhoods. Good afternoon. Tori Coates with Cleveland Neighborhood Progress, CDC Relationship Manager.
Hi, good afternoon. Joe Keneally with Northwest Neighborhoods.
Hello, everyone. I'm Anna Perlmutter. I'm board president of Northwest Neighborhoods.
That's all right. Hi, everyone. I'm Cass Sonhalter, Capital Projects Manager for Cleveland Public Library.
Okay, thank you. So this was spearheaded and sponsored by Councilwoman Spencer. Councilwoman Spencer, you have anything you want to add? And then I apologize, I always start with the DPS chairman first and then Councilwoman Spencer. Okay.
Thank you, Chairman Hairston. Thanks, Council President. I am very honored to be across the table from these individuals who have worked so hard on this project, and I am privileged and also seeing behind the scenes isn't easy because you know how monumental this is to get a project like this done. And this is a true example of the pandemic and what these COVID dollars are meant for when you have costs that increase by over 40% with the project. Council President, I was remiss in not, I know that you already mentioned that you want to be added as a co-sponsor. I'm so grateful to DPS Chairman Anthony Hairston and also Councilman McCormick, who also agreed to co-sponsor. So Ines, if we can add those additional council members as co-sponsors, I'd be very grateful. And, you know, I think that the real heartbeat behind this project is that we do have an incredibly diverse community in Ward 15, but we also are experiencing displacement pressures. There are a lot of parts of our neighborhoods where housing costs are going up, property taxes are going up, and people feel very vulnerable, and none more so than our seniors. So this project could not come at a better time. It is critically needed. And I appreciate all the investment that the City of Cleveland has already given this project, and I know that we will stand by. Commissioner Green was here. I know the Community Development Department will stand by your side until we're across the finish line with the project. And I also want to thank Cleveland Public Library for your partnership on this, and I cannot wait to experience the beautiful new Waltz branch as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Hairston or McCormick, do you have anything you want to add?
Sure. No, Mr. Chair, I fully support this project. Thank you to Near West Neighbors.
Neighborhoods.
What is it? I'm sorry.
Northwest Neighborhoods.
Northwest Neighbors. I'm still getting used to that. My apologies. My apologies. But no, to your team and to the board and everybody, thank you so much for advancing this project. We need as much affordable housing as we can get our hands on the Near West Side. So really appreciate this work. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Harris, do you want to add anything?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Happy to be a co-sponsor for this project, and also was happy to relieve it so that way it can continue through the process. Because I know that you all need this other piece of financing. Councilman Spencer has been a tremendous advocate on behalf of this project. You know, from the calls and texts and catch along the way in the hallway, but nonetheless, she got it done, and so was happy to move this forward. Please make sure that I am on the list to receive an invite to the ribbon cutting, and if I don't get it, I'm gonna remember it, okay? All right. And so for the council president as well, but happy to support. No further questions.
All right, thank you, Councilman Hairston. And just in closing, I hope, and I know that Joe is here from, Mr. Chitrin is here from our policy staff, but when you look at our ARPA commitments, we have made a tremendous investment in affordable housing, senior housing, and just housing in general. So I really hope that at some point in time, when the story is all said and done, that this council really gets a chance to articulate the amount of investment and amount of support that we've had for housing, especially affordable housing and senior housing in the city of Cleveland. So thank you all for your efforts and looking forward to working with you. Yes. Is there an amendment? Yeah, I was about to say, let me read the amendment. There is one amendment, and the amendment states that there is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. In Section 2, at the end, add RQS 8006 RL 2023-95. And this was dated 9/27/23 by Stephanie Melnick. Okay? So, that being said, Ms. Jimenez, can you please make sure you add myself, Councilman Hairston, and Councilman McCormick onto this piece of legislation, and ordinance number 1009-2023 stands approved as amended. Thank you. We look forward to working with you guys.
Thank you all.
Okay, next one up is Old Brooklyn. Is Old Brooklyn here? Ordinance number 1012-2023, as amended by Council members Harsh, Hairston, Santana, Mora, Conwell, McCormick, and Slife. Once again, Ms. Jimenez, can you please add me onto this? Harsh, as always, followed instructions and got a lot of co-sponsors as well. So this is great. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Economic Development to enter into a grant agreement with Old Brooklyn Community Development Corporation to provide economic development assistance to partially finance the Memphis and Pearl Road mixed-use neighborhood project located on Memphis and Pearl Roads in Ward 13. And there is an amendment. I do want to read this amendment, that there is no legal objection to this legislation if amended as follows. 1, in Section 2, Line 2, strike the period after 10 SF 400 and insert and other funds approved by the Director of Finance, RQS 9501 RL 2023-98. And who's going to be speaking on behalf of your team? Please proceed, sir.
Thank you, Council President. Appreciate it. Pleasure to be with you all this afternoon. Thank you to the Finance Committee for having us, council members. I'd like to just do a quick introduction of the folks that I have up with me here as well. I've got Charles Kennick from the Old Brooklyn Community Development Corporation. We've got Amber Coriath representing Desmond Architecture and Development. And then Jim Ambrose, who is representing Tipping Point, our partner in helping to secure financing for the project. I'd also like to quickly acknowledge two of your colleagues, Councilwoman Rebecca Moore, who has been phenomenally helpful in seeing this project hopefully come to fruition, as well as Councilman Harsh, who I will say I've shared countless cups of coffee directly across the street from this project as we've been working to put all this together. So really appreciate you championing this and understanding the need for the neighborhood and bringing this to fruition. First and foremost, I would say that this particular project is instrumental in securing the financial security in general of Old Brooklyn into the future. We look at this as a transformative project to bring more investment into the neighborhood, much needed investment into the neighborhood. One of the things our strategic plan calls for at Old Brooklyn is to bring more housing and more economic opportunity through the commercial corridors to the neighborhood. This project will do just that. We are looking to bring 80 units of market rate housing to Old Brooklyn, as well as over 20,000 square feet of new commercial space to our main road on Pearl Road. Our strategic plan calls to add housing of any kind, housing for all, and we know that our neighborhood is in desperate need of housing. Along this key commercial corridor, which is also home to the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo and very close to both of the Metro Health campuses, we have less than 100 units of housing, which is sorely needed along this corridor. It's also a highly used transit corridor with further investments coming in transit within the next few years as well. Most of the housing that currently exists along that corridor is over 50 years old, and so the neighborhood is in desperate need of new housing that meets the need of folks in our neighborhood. Old Brooklyn has been involved on this corner, which is essentially main and main for us at the neighborhood, for over 10 years. The St. Luke's Church that was abandoned in 2014, we agreed to accept it through the Cuyahoga County Land Bank as a donation and worked from that time to put development plans in place together for this corner. Throughout that time, we were able to secure some adjacent buildings and build a strong relationship with the Pearl Road United Methodist Church, our neighbor to the north, who is also a part of this development, hoping to secure their future. They've been active on that corner for over 200 years, and we'd like to see them continue to serve the neighborhood for 200 more. This is a unique project combining new construction with the adaptive reuse of the St. Luke's Church building. This is a project that the community supports. Our organization at Old Brooklyn has done a significant amount of community engagement, engaging with hundreds of residents and business owners over the last few years. And very much I can tell you that the community would like to see the St. Luke's building remain, and our goal is to do that through this project. We had a previously proposed project that included a LIHTC project for this particular corner, which would have called for the demolition of the historic church building and adjacent buildings. We were hoping to not have to do that, but we know that in neighborhoods like ours, middle neighborhoods, the need for some type of intervention, whether it's LIHTC or historic tax credits or public funding of other kinds, is always necessary to bring these projects forward. Unfortunately, we did not secure funding for the LIHTC project. We went back to the table, and I'm happy to tell you all that we're here today contemplating a project that will save the church, reuse the building, reactivate and re-energize an existing church, and bring new housing and new commercial opportunities to our neighborhood. With that, I'll turn it over to Jim to talk a little bit about the financing for the project.
Mr. President, thank you for having us. I'm with Tipping Point. Our mission's simple. It's to unlock a neighborhood's highest potential through commercial real estate development, through truth, by teaching, transparency, and we always want to be involved in a transformational project. This project is just that, because if it were easy, it would have happened 50 years ago, and since they have not received an investment in the last 50 years, through the lens of what the community has wanted, this is a unique one where we've built the development from the ground up through the lens of the experiences that every one of the Old Brooklyn community members would like to see. And so our development plan is simply just a reflection of what they would like, and the financing strategy is what it is, and we try to maximize what private capital can bear. As you've heard from the previous projects that have presented, the market is just changed. The rules of commercial real estate development they've radically shifted before our eyes, and this is very much a story of one where we're rewriting the rules, and we are hoping that this will serve not only as a positive economic development model for Old Brooklyn, but many of these other middle neighborhood communities that are going to that do currently have the same problem as this. In short, the existing rental realities of middle neighborhoods like this is that they've remained stagnant, while construction costs and financing costs have gone this way. And now that they're so misaligned, that's why you don't see investment happening in these, because nobody will finance these from a lending perspective because they don't know how to get a return on their debt. So that's where our plans to reestablish, if you go to the next slide, what we're trying to do is essentially introduce a product into this neighborhood that would allow the land values around it to appreciate higher, so that future investment can come in and be able to stabilize this heavily trafficked commercial corridor and make it possible to not have to go back to other subsidy. So what we try to do is we also try to, if you go to the next slide, this would also, right now the retail corridors, and Lucas can attest to this, are pretty stagnant, and we need to find a way to be able to get that street level activation, particularly because this is going to become a stop for a future transit-oriented development through a BRT line going right down Pearl Road. So we need to have it be accessible for pedestrians. If you go to the next slide. The development budget to save these the risk in this is saving the 2 buildings. Those are the most unknowns, and then it will be bridged by new construction in between to fully connect what is Main and Main on in this neighborhood. This is the heart of their downtown, and I think that the future of the neighborhood will go with the heart. If you go to the next slide. So in order to accomplish something like this, you can see that we have several layers of capital that we've secured. We've been fortunate enough to have a commitment from Councilman Sweeney at the county, as well as some additional funds found by Councilman Harsh. To date, we have received a commitment letter from the Community Development ARPA. And we, as of this morning, just received a financing term sheet from the AFL-CIO Pension Fund. So this project will, and it's through the Housing Investment Trust. From the beginning, this project has contemplated full union labor. And so with that, it gives us opportunities to explore creative funding sources that traditional lenders can't do. Frankly, when we've shopped this to traditional lenders all throughout Cleveland, they've rejected this because the capital markets are just on lockdown right now. And this is going to be a problem not just for cities like Cleveland, but others, where if these projects can't get financing, you're going to have a gap in new product coming online. And so programs like this and relationships such as this are extremely important to continue economic development moving forward. When we structure these, a lot of private investments seek tax abatements, TIFs. You'll notice we're not doing that here. The intent is that if we can get this online, we want to create recurring tax revenue, not just for the city, but for also the state and the county, so that we can continue to reinvest in other projects like this in other neighborhoods as well. So our total development budget's about 31 million. If you go to the next slide. Right now, we've been full-fledged in design and essentially submitting for all of the public subsidy options that are available. Given that we are working with 3 historic structures with a lot of deferred maintenance, there's a lot of asbestos, lead-based paint, and things to remediate from the buildings. We intend to work with the Cuyahoga County Land Bank to be able to apply for an upcoming brownfields remediation grant at the state level. And our team has been successful with that source in the past, and as long as we get the application in on time, we're confident we'll get those remediation dollars. But once we receive those, that would drive whenever we have the kickoff to construction, because we can't really begin the demolition until we clean up everything that's bad inside the buildings and on the soil. Next slide, please.
So this is just a couple renderings that we have of the project, and it's kind of hard to look at this on a flat surface as a television when you're imagining being at the corner. So imagine you're at the corner of a street and this is looking at it from Memphis Avenue, and the other corner would be from Pearl Road. So this would be the new build with the retail on the first floor with market rate apartments above. And we would carry the same materials from the St. Luke's Church throughout to go with the character of the old building and also blend it with the new. And then this would be the angle from Pearl Road. As we mentioned, it has, St. Luke's, there was a school addition to the building. It is in very poor condition. It is really not salvageable. So here we're showing that being torn down and really opening up this space to provide more green space for community events. Right now they hold the farmers market in front, and also to provide a better view of Pearl Road United Methodist Church, who's been hidden behind a school building of another religious church. So give them a little bit more view from the street as well. Just another concept, and that's about it.
Right about 4:15. All right, thank you. All right, so first of all, thank you. I know that Councilman Harsh has been working hard on this project. It makes me feel good because if you knew the lobbying and the conversations and they don't tell you this secret about me, but I'm kind of cheap. I don't like pass out money easy. I'm very thrifty when it comes to budgets because I know we have the finance director. I know he appreciates that sometimes. We try to be very judicious, try to make sure that we make smart investments. And Harsh has done a very good job of really articulating how the market is just really having a hard time going in that area. And, we've been very cautious and intentional not to try to divide up a pie 17 different ways, but to approach this in a team approach. So what I've asked all of the council people to do is to kind of sell all of the body on their efforts to get economic development and other projects in the area. So I want to say that Harsh has done a good job of really going out and working his colleagues and making everybody understand why this important investment needs to happen over there. And once again, it's adding to the footprint of senior housing and affordable housing, even though those numbers look a little bit more than affordable, but just to have more housing online in the city of Cleveland, especially in a neighborhood that's that middle market that's always hard to hit because it's wealthy, it's middle class, but it's not too wealthy, but it's also not poor, which can invite a lot of other investment from other areas. So I'm also curious, and maybe later you guys can help me understand how you did this without TIFs and tax abatements, because usually every development comes to us with TIFs and tax abatements. So you might have opened up a Pandora's box, and I know Casey's not here, he's probably watching, but everybody's going to want to know, how do you pull this stuff off without TIFs and tax abatements? And we'll figure that out. But Councilman Hairston first, as the DPS chair, did you have any comments? And then Councilman Harsh. Councilman Harsh.
Thank you. I will try not to spend more than 10 minutes on this. Through the chair, this is incredibly exciting for Old Brooklyn. As you know, we attempted to do a LIHTC application. There are only about 4 census tracts in Old Brooklyn that qualify for LIHTC application because of our income area. And this was one of them, and it scored too low. We were not able to win those competitive tax. I know a previous project had a $10 million LIHTC tacked onto it, and that's how a lot of projects get developed in Cleveland. But we're not going to qualify because we are that middle neighborhood that we don't have enough slum and blight, and that's a HUD term, slum and blight census tracts to really get into a lot of LIHTC opportunities. But we also don't have full-fledged market vibrancy that allows developers to just come in and do new stuff because the market bears the return. One of the things that we're doing here is that we're hoping to reactivate this entire neighborhood. There's 35,000 people living in Old Brooklyn between Councilwoman Moore and my coverage of it. 35,000 people makes up one of the largest neighborhoods in all of Cleveland that has largely been flying under the radar for the last half of a century because we were that neighborhood back when residency requirement was in effect, that we had a lot of little middle class jobs in the neighborhood. And Old Brooklyn still is very much a neighborhood of doctors and lawyers and professionals, but we're also a neighborhood of mechanics and STNAs and blue collar working class people. And we should be a vibrant mixed income neighborhood, but we've been missing that new housing aspect to offer people for a long time because we didn't have a lot of opportunities to build new construction. So this is really, I think, going to set Old Brooklyn up for the next 50 years. to be a market neighborhood where investment can come in and people will see the value of investing in Old Brooklyn. We've got the zoo anchoring us to the north, and then we're surrounded by 3 other political subdivisions on all sides. Old Brooklyn is a geopolitical peninsula. We've got Brooklyn to the west, Parma to the south, and Brooklyn Heights to the east. So Old Brooklyn has always had to sort of contend with those areas. And Councilwoman Santana said that one of the reasons she's supporting this is that she sees people that want to make that aspirational move within the city of Cleveland and move up. And we're actually a gentleman I met running for office moved across the bridge in Old Brooklyn, and it was making it for his family. We want to be that aspirational neighborhood for the next generation of Clevelanders too, and we can have the mixed income west side that we all dream of, but we have to be able to invest in our communities. So this is a significant investment in a neighborhood that has long been flying under the radar, and I'm really terribly excited and grateful to all my colleagues for the support and mentoring on how to do this. I wasn't quite sure what I was doing, 20 months ago when I got here. I was like, but we've got this great project, and I'm very excited to see this. And again, without the TIFs and the tax breaks that most people look for, this is a true attempt to jumpstart an entire market. And I think that we can be successful here, and we will see more development follow this. Just regular old market rate development where people say Old Brooklyn's a good place to invest and Cleveland's a good city to invest in, and hopefully that all works out. I do want to say one other thing about the Pearl Road United Methodist Church, which sits, I don't know if you want to go around to one of those images that shows it. Pearl Road is right there on the right. It's where the cross is. That's a separate building. They're not owned. That building is owned by the Pearl Road United Methodist Church and has been for over 100 years. They are the oldest congregation in the city of Cleveland, continuously running congregation in the city of Cleveland. And by removing that schoolhouse that was adjacent to the church, the sanctuary, the bell tower all stays. But by removing that, we open Pearl Road up to the Pearl Road that they actually face. And they are an excited partner in this project. We're working with them. We are literally bridging the past with the future in this project because part of their building is part of this development, and they are one of our partners. So it's wonderful to me that we give more exposure to Pearl Road UMC because they've been there for 100 years, and we hope that they're there for another 100 years. And I think this is a way to reinvest in them and revitalize them because they have been fantastic neighbors for a century. So I'm excited that they're a part of this project as well. And I want to thank you, Council President, for helping figure out how to navigate these waters, as well as the rest of my colleagues who excitedly joined on as co-sponsors. This is a wonderful day for Old Brooklyn, and I'll just wrap at that.
Good job, Councilman Harsh. Councilwoman Mara, did you want to add anything onto this? I know that this is adjacent to the area that you're in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I will just applaud Councilman Harsh for his tireless effort to get this much needed gap financing through the city, and a huge thanks to Lucas and his team at Old Brooklyn, the folks at Tipping Point. This is truly a tipping point project for Old Brooklyn, so the name could not be more fitting. I look forward to I don't know, folks living, working, playing in downtown Old Brooklyn, and I think it's an exciting, it truly is a thrilling project, and I'm grateful to be along for the ride.
Awesome. All right, Councilman Harrison, I'm going to steal his line. We just want to make sure we have the ribbon cutting as well, so make sure that we're all there. But Councilman Harrison?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Councilman Harrison?
Go ahead.
I just had a question about the amendment.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I did have one question about the amendment. Instead of the word "and," would it be possible to put in the word "or" to allow flexibility for either use of funds instead of requiring use of both funds?
I think the reason that we have it that way is because that's the money that's being drawn down for the pot that we have. So, Finance Director, I know he's here. There's a reason we have that amendment, I think, is to make sure that we're hitting the right account. Do you want to, because he had a question about "and" or. And I thought that we have that amendment in there so that we can make sure that it's drawing from the same account.
The use of the word "and" does not require more than one fund. It's still flexible to either whichever is the easiest for use. It doesn't require that multiple funds be used. Okay, that's all that.
So you good?
Yeah, yeah. I just
Okay,
wanted to
all
double check
right,
that.
just want to make sure.
Bureaucratic, I know. But
No, listen, hey, I love it. I tell everybody, I got colleagues that keep me on my toes because you learn something new every day, making sure that you cross those T's and dot your I's. So thank you. Councilman Hairston.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Again, as I indicated, as the other pieces that we've heard, happy to support, happy to relieve this from committee so that they continue to flow through the process. Councilman Harsh has been a true cheerleader on behalf of this project from, I think, since you walked in the door, right? And since he walked through the door here in Cleveland City Council. So he really laid out the need for this project and how this would be one of the first new construction projects and rehab projects all together, commercial, retail, residential, in his community in what, decades, right?
50 years.
50 at least. So you see how this is very much a priority of his, and I was happy to jump on board and support, as was the council president as well. And as he said, we make sure that he and I both, in addition to the council people, are part of the groundbreaking and ribbon cutting. All right? Thank you.
Councilwoman Spencer.
Thanks, Council President. I simply wanted to add that I too know how enthusiastic and champion Councilman Harsh has been, so you all are very lucky to have him as your councilman. And then I also wanted to note that we have a very talented Ward 15 resident across the table from us, Ms. Amber Correa. So some Ward 15 talent in the mix.
That's great. I always love when developers and people like that actually live in the city, because that means you actually believe in the product that you're actually putting online. So
Yes.
good stuff.
We want to be involved with
right.
I didn't believe
Right. Well, I once again, I think this is a great project. I will tell everybody, development takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Even your calendar, it looks like this project won't really come to fruition until 2026. God willing, the creek don't rise, all of us will still be here. But at the end of the day, I know that I've had a project that has taken me 6 years, and it won't cut a ribbon until next year. So just be patient. It's going to be interesting to watch how you continue your financial stack, because this is one of those hard markets. And I think I really want to watch it close, because I think we could take lessons learned from this market and what you're doing here and maybe apply it to some other markets like Collinwood and some other places that I think have similar circumstances that you guys have in Old Brooklyn. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you so much. And seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1012-2023 stands approved. Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
As amended.
To the chair, we or through the chair, we have 4 interested parties that want to take on that space. So it is likely to be almost like a tap room type of restaurant type of experience versus a full production facility as an anchor amenity to the neighborhood and really the people who are traveling to the zoo to try to keep them there, especially if you receive visitors from outside the city right off of the highway.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all
Thank
so
you.
much.
All right, we'll bring up Port Control real quick because they are always sitting the longest and waiting the longest. And Director Francis, if he could join us at the table. And Assistant Director. This is ordinance number 1159-2023. This is for intro and passage tonight by Council Members McCormick and Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Port Control to enter into an amendment to contract number MA 1505 RC 2019-87 with Natures Alpine Solutions LLC to extend the contract for an additional 6 months for the purchase of various FAA-approved de-icing chemicals and to allow for a modification to the unit prices of the products. Director Francis.
Yes. Mr. Chair, committee members, good afternoon. The Department of Port Control is required to maintain all taxiways and runways free and clear of accumulations of snow and ice during the winter season. To ensure these safe airfield operations, the chemicals Alpine RF11, also known as potassium acetate, and sodium formate are used for de-icing purposes. DPC has been under contract with Nature's Alpine Solutions to provide these chemicals for our usage since November 2019. That contract will expire late next month. In mid-April of this year, DPC received the city record allowing us to move forward with procurement efforts for these supplies. The draft bid package was provided to the Division of Purchasing and Supplies in mid-May for its review, then advertised the bid over a 2-week period in August, immediately followed by the pre-bid meeting. Bids were open on August 31st. Nature's Alpine Solutions LLC was the sole proposer. In its bid, Nature's wrote TBD on pricing for years 3 and 4. Port Control inquired with internal city departments as to what our options were in this situation. Ultimately, the direction was that bids needed to be rejected as they were considered to be non-responsive. And those bids were officially rejected by Board of Control on October 4th. This is why we're before you today, as time is short and we must ensure we are able to procure the supply of chemicals ahead of the approaching winter season. This will be for a period of 6 months, allowing for us to complete the upcoming winter season and have sufficient supply on hand. In early 2024, we will once again undertake the procurement process so that we will have a new agreement in place prior to next winter. We simply did not have enough time to do so again this year. We anticipate these operational costs to be up to $1 million. It really will depend on how harsh the winter season is. My fingers are crossed, personally, being my first winter in town, that it's a very mild one.
Get ready, get ready, get ready.
I'll be ready just in case it
Might
is.
start snowing next week.
Don't say that. So, and they are accounted for in our operating budget. That concludes my presentation. We ask for your consideration and approval. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Just before I go to Councilman Hairston, I always like to understand, I know these are sometimes direct contracts because there are not always minority and female contractors, but can you just give us a scope? Do you have any minority or female contractors, or you just couldn't have anybody that has this expertise?
Well, what I can tell you is that it was advertised. We ultimately only received one bid.
Okay.
So all of the proposers that are out there in the market were made aware of the opportunity, and only Nature submitted a bid for it. So the reason we're looking to extend the existing agreement is so that we can go forward with the procurement process again next year. And we will be sure that we sort of uncover all of the opportunities if there are others that are out there that are interested and able, just so they're at least made aware in case they're interested in going for the business.
And why was it rejected? Because it was higher than your original amount, or because they just didn't meet all the specs, or what?
So they put costs for years 1 and 2, but put TBD for years 3 and 4. We tried to solve for that through some amendments, but ultimately law gave the direction that they needed to be rejected entirely as they were considered to be non-responsive. So that was the process that we undertook through Board of Control. And so that's brought us to this point today.
That's interesting. So they had to put something in there with third year projections,
And
third
fourth
and
year.
fourth year.
Right.
And because they probably thought they were being smart in saying that they didn't know what the market would bear or what the market would do in 2 years or 3 years, they decided to say to be determined, and
Correct.
that was not sufficient.
That's correct.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. Because I always look at trends. If they're doing that, then others are going to start trying to do that too. So that helps us as council to look at those kind of things, because we do believe that we should project 3 to 4 years out as well. Okay?
Understood.
All right. Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm satisfied with the director's presentation today and support this legislation.
All right. Director wears some cool ties too, so we got to. I see he done picked up the dress code here as well. All right. Seeing no other. Anybody else have any questions? Seeing no other questions. Ordinance number 1159-2023 will be considered by the full council this evening. Thank you so
Wonderful.
much, Director.
Thank you all.
All right. And you know we're passionate about the airport, so we're looking forward to
We appreciate
getting
that.
together with you guys soon.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Thank you again.
All right. Next up is ordinance number 1137-2023, the Anchor Leg. Director Abu Nama. By Council Member Griffin, by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of paper envelopes for various divisions of city government for a period of 1 year, with 2 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Finance.
Good afternoon, Council President and the rest of council. This is one of the most exciting ordinances that I will be presenting to you in my time with the city to purchase paper and envelopes for 1 year with 2 one-year options to renew. And this will provide all the paper that we need sort of as an organization for our printers and envelopes to send out paychecks, open enrollment reminders, et cetera. And this is the estimated amount of $600,000, and it is with a Cleveland-based company.
If you could you do you bid this out, or you just, so this is for us to accept, and since you bid it out, there's evidently, who is it?
I'm sorry, the current vendor is a Cleveland-based company. So yes, we would bid this out similar to the process that Director Francis just laid out with the airport, and we would go with the lowest and best respondent to the bid package.
I know this is off topic, but we've been looking at kind of our processes for the city, and if we might need to update legislation. Is lowest and best the best way? Because I'm starting to hear more and more from people that lowest and best may not be the best way, especially if we're trying to diversify our contractor pool and other things.
I think through the chair, it's a good question. And I think there are a lot of different ways to come out. The way I've approached the lowest and best is it does give us good flexibility. It does not require the lowest and best. And the and best allows us to use some more qualitative, subjective assessments of the ability for the vendor to provide the services that are required. So I think, oftentimes it ends up being the lowest bidder is who is awarded the contract, but that is not necessarily the required outcome when using the lowest and best standard.
Okay, because I just know a couple of, especially MBE and DBE firms, claim that they had some challenges with the lowest and best process, and that's something that I've been trying to wrap my arms around. So maybe one day I'll spend some time with you to really understand how we might look at this as council as well. MBE, DBE, does this company have any, somebody has to be able to supply paper and envelopes. So does this company have any MBE, DBE partners or anybody with this?
So in the bid package, there will be the customary kind of goals for MBE, CSB, and FBE. And I don't know exactly if Millcraft, which is the current vendor, how it performed through the last procurement process. I would suspect they hit the CSB goals since they are a Cleveland-based organization, but we'll work with OEO in setting those goals and then ensure that the selected vendor performs the best on sort of all the metrics.
One of the things that I hope we go back to that I think we've gotten away from is on every piece of legislation, it used to have a section in the summaries that actually gave us MBE, FBE, and CSB and DBE numbers. And I think we need to go back to that. So Joe, if you can make a note of that, because that'll just alleviate a lot of our anxiety. Because I know you guys are going to have to come back to us on some of this stuff, but I just want to make sure that we, our expectations is finance, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it's important for us to know that.
Absolutely.
Okay? All right. Any other questions on ordinance number 1137-2023? Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1137-2023 stands approved. Please sign on. Last ordinance of the day, ordinance number 1137-2023 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request, an emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts of Group 1, 2, and 3 copiers and services for the various divisions of city government for a period of 5 years with 3 one-year options to renew exercisable by the Director of Finance. Director.
Through the chair to the council, so similar request here with an ordinance to request authority to enter into a requirements contract. This is for our copier machines and printers throughout City Hall. The current vendor is Dex Imaging, which has an office here in the city in the Hinckley Industrial Parkway. The contract that is expiring next September, it was a $3 million 5-year arrangement. And this, we are estimating that given inflation, that this would be a $3.5 million 5-year arrangement.
Okay. All right, once again, the same questions. Want to make sure that we have DBE, MBE, and FBE, so really important to make sure that we understand that. Any other questions regarding 1138-2023? Seeing no other questions, ordinance number 1138-2023 stands approved. That being said, this Committee of Finance, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion is adjourned to the next call of the meeting, which is next Monday, October the 16th. Thanks, everybody.